Hey, this is TBK, Turnbuckle King. Got another episode of Locker Room of Wrestling News. Real reason for CM Punk versus Triple H, Seth Rollins' contract, and more. Stay tuned. All right. Got another episode, Locker Room of Wrestling News today. Got the news for the beginning of the week for Monday, December 11th. So, before we get to the main stories of Triple H, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, let's unveil what are the other wrestling news for today before we get there. Let's start with the undercard stories. All right, Kevin Nash says wrestlers will pay $75 per day per TV day in 1994. I've seen people owe the company money. Let's see what he's talking about. Kevin Nash comments on pay in 1994. Kevin Nash became one of the highest paid wrestlers the sport had ever seen in 1996 when he jumped from WWF to WCW alongside Scott Hall. Nash has been one of the top stars in WWE before he jumped to WCW, but the pay in 1994 was nothing compared to what he would end up making in WCW. He said, and I quote, and this is on his podcast that he has called Click This, we got paid $75 for a TV day, and that was to cover hotel, food, and a rental car. 90% of the TVs were done in the Northeast. You tell me how many people, even in 1994, $75, it didn't cover the room, let alone a town car, gas, going over a couple bridges. Horizontal bridge was $7 back then. You could get a $200 draw against your Pikeville house show payment of $170. I actually seen people get checks and owe the company money, not even make a $200 a day on the road. Then Nash said on his podcast. He said the business has certainly changed. As you know, Kevin Nash was the WWE champion from November 1994 to November 1995 in his only sole title reign as the champion. So that's interesting because I know $75, that's equivalent to $155 today in 2023 if you want to include inflation. So that's crazy that the wrestlers, they wasn't even paying like that back then. Very interesting to see what has happened and see how the wrestling business has transpired. But Kevin Nash has a point. $75 back during that time did not do anything for the wrestlers. It didn't do anything for the pay. And he had a point. The wrestling business certainly is different now. Wrestlers get paid way more money. And it started in 1996 when he went to WCW with Scott Hall alongside Hulk Hogan to form the NWO. As we all know, it's the New World Order, one of the most famous and respected stables of all time in the wrestling industry. But that is interesting to see that the wrestlers were only paid $75 back then. And I'm starting to think myself, how could they get through? How could they able to pay funds and make it with that kind of money? I know I hear many stories that wrestlers were sleeping in their cars, sleeping on the floor, with old mattress. I've heard stories that from Mick Foley, The Rock, and many others. So that is interesting to know that wrestlers were not paid that much back then, and to see how the business transpired years later, at least they're able to pay more, and then we have more wrestling companies. It's not just WWE and AEW. We have TNA wrestling, we have NWA wrestling, and of course the independent circuit. But the wrestling business definitely is different now, and they're able to pay more money, depending on your level of talent and what company that you're working for. So hopefully the people that are wrestling, no matter what promotion you're in, that you're getting the money you deserve, or at least you try to, as they say, stretch money together, get what you can, or rub pennies together. So that's interesting to know that the wrestler was not paid that much. Very, very interesting. And that's all I have regarding this particular story. Let's see what else going on in wrestling news today. Let's see. All right, next story. AEW Rampage on December 8th records slight decrease in average viewership, key demo rating up. Says the numbers are in for the December 8th episode of AEW Rampage, which was this past Friday. According to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, AEW Rampage on Friday drew 341,000 viewers. The number is slightly down from the 348,000 viewers the show drew on December 1st. Let's see, the show scored a 0.12 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is up from the 0.10 rating that the show scored last Friday. Now let's see, it's compared the numbers to WWE SmackDown. SmackDown, of course, had 2.3 million viewers. The demographic 1849, 0.63. Then later on, we have Rampage. That's their number. So this is a huge difference. Rampage came and pulled 500,000 viewers. So the ratings are very, very low. As people know, Friday night on wrestling is very hard to do unless you're a big promotion like WWE. But to have a secondary promotion like AEW premiere show every Friday, it's going to be tough competition. And that's not including other sporting events such as the NBA, and others that's going on for a Friday, or it could be MLB doing MLB season, or hockey, or whatever the case may be. Now, as we know, professional wrestling, there's no such thing as off season. It's all year round. So it's going to be times where AEW or WWE is going to compete with other major sports. But 341,000, that's still slightly lower. Now let's see what's the most viewed AEW Rampage videos for December 8th episode. Continental Classic Blue League on Rampage, Daniel Bryan versus Daniel Garcia. Great match, by the way. I saw that match. Could Angelico unseat the AEW International Champ Orange Cassidy? Living Dead Girl Abaddon set her sights on Trish Adora. The Don Callis family take on Christopher Daniels and Mike Sydal. And that's one of the most top viewed videos. But like I said, it's hard to do that on a Friday evening when you're going up against other shows. Like I said, this is the main match between Daniel Bryan and Daniel Garcia. Great match that these guys had. They did their thing to the best of their ability. But like I said, that's good that they did that. But it wasn't enough against SmackDown, especially with CM Punk being on an episode of the Tribute to the Troops. So that's definitely interesting to see. So that is the viewership for AEW Rampage. And that's all I have regarding that particular story. Let's see what else is going on in the wrestling world today. Let's see what's going on here. WWE and MLW reached settlement in antitrust case. What's going on here? What case was going on? A settlement has been reached. Lawyers for WWE and MLW reached a settlement in the antitrust case on December 11th, which is today. Appropriate dismissal papers are expected to be filed within 30 days. Let's see what the court document says. In accordance with the court's standing order for civil cases, Civil IV.F1 played to MLW Media LLC and defended World Wrestling Entertainment Together, the parties hereby submit this notice of settlement to notify the court that the parties have settled this action. The parties are in the process of completing the final settlement documents and expect to file the appropriate dismissal papers within the next 30 days. On January 11th, 2022, MLW filed an antitrust lawsuit against WWE, accusing them of interfering in television and streaming deals and poaching talent. Wow, didn't hear much about that. The lawsuit went through multiple amendments and motions. It was dismissed in February 2023, but MLW filed an amendment. A judge denied WWE's motion to dismiss MLW's amended lawsuit in June. MLW argued WWE was engaged in unfair practices, including blocking ROH and AEW events. MLW also stated that WWE's Stephanie McMahon interfered with the MLW deal with Fox-owned streaming service Tubi. I didn't know. It's very interesting. I did not know they had a settlement against Major League Wrestling. And another thing that's interesting, I did not know that Fox owned Tubi. No wonder service Tubi is blowing up and popular like it is now. But I did not know they was trying to interfere. WWE, shame on you. Why are you doing that to LLW? You can't be the only ones getting the money. WWE, let them get their money too. That's crazy. That's very interesting to see that that's been going on. Ouch, 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 ouch. So this is an antitrust case, and this started back in January 2022. So what are we, almost 2 years later, pretty much, and that's going to and they have reached a settlement in this case. So WWE has blocked them from getting television and streaming deals. Yeah, that is very interesting. WWE, it seemed like to me that you're trying to monopolize the whole wrestling industry and try to prevent others from getting, as they call business, a piece of the pie. So that's a shame though. I've heard of MLW, Major League Wrestling, but definitely interesting. CeeLo Myers, salute. Thanks for coming out to the locker room. But yeah, this is crazy that they tried to interfere in deals. And also they said that they argued here that WWE was engaging in unfair practices, they including blocking Ring of Honor and AEW events. Now I heard something about that, but I didn't know the MLW has stayed there in their amendment for the court case. That's interesting, but and I didn't know Steve McMahon interfered with the MLW deal to stop it from Tubi. So the question is, the only way they could stop interfere those deals is if they paid them off. But I wonder, they're not going to say how much the settlement was. It's going to be undisclosed. But I didn't know that they were blocking MLW from getting television streaming deals. What do you guys think of that? That is sad on WWE's end. You can't be greedy, WWE. You can't have all the money. You got to share that wealth. You're not the only game in town. Like I said, the wrestling business is different. As I stated earlier in the Kevin Nash story, you got WWE, AEW. You have Ring of Honor that's a part of AEW. You have TNA. You have NWA, MLW, and you have the rest independent wrestling circuit. But I did not know that it was an antitrust case. So WWE, they pulled some fast ones on you. But I got to give MLW their credit. They did not back down from WWE on this one. They stood their ground and they amended that and they reached a settlement and they're going to get paid from WWE. And WWE is second time this week. First, we had the whole, basically, they're not going to admit it. They had to pay for the Yeet thing, for that word, pay the Casey Huffman wrestler. Now they have to reach settlement in this. But everyone knows WWE has money. And when it comes to something in business, stand up for it. Feel so wrong, stand your ground. And that's all I have regarding this story. Let's see what else is going on in the wrestling world today. Okay, more details behind CM Punk's return to the WWE. Let's see what this story is about. We've continued to gather more information on CM Punk's return to WWE. We're told that many WWE talent expect to speak with higher ups and gain some assurances about Punk and how he will be in the company moving forward. As far as AEW, Tony Khan seemed more concerned Saturday night about losing. I can't pronounce his name. It will be highlighted. Then CM Punk headed to the WWE. The majority of reactions we gain within AEW is people ask about the reaction within WWE has been. The answer to that is much more TP than originally expected, just as the case when CM Punk came to AEW for Collision. In both WWE and AEW, there have been people that said that they didn't want to work with him and will consider leaving, but he heard of no release requests from people in AEW, and now WWE connected to it. There were top WWE talent asking some in AEW if Punk was involved in the AEW Devil storyline as recently as the last month or so. Punk was never discussed for that, and while the Punk appearance was a closely kept secret in WWE, Punk has told or at least hinted to a couple of close friends that it was happening. WWE ended up using renders from Punk last run the company, the same Titantron video from that era. We asked the source at Peacock about the playlist of Punk content that was added, and we're told that it takes relatively no time to put together. There were some guidelines given on how to address Punk's chance from SmackDown and Survivor Series, which was to ignore them as best as possible. Then they say we can confirm there was a real offer put together for CM Punk by Impact TNA, which I did hear about. They said that the wrestler purist mentioned recently, Fightful spoke to several associated with the company this weekend. That said that he was well liked during his visits there, and we were told that the door remains open. There had been some friends of Punk that thought that was a real possibility before talks with Triple H started. Those close to him fully believed that he would wrestle again. Then it looked like the door wasn't open for a return. It seemed like an option if Punk wanted it. And then there was Raw. CM Punk's back to WWE and cuts promo nearly 10 years on Raw. So, they say he's not taking a victory lap at the end of Raw. You know, he made a shot at the Young Bucks, but they said he's moving past the situation. Now, it says internally, Punk's listed as a free agent of now. We know WWE Raw is tonight. We got to decide if he's going to see if Punk will sign with Raw or SmackDown. There was no produced list for a segment on Raw. That's what time covered because the Randy Orton versus Dominic Mysterio going along. Okay. So there's nothing basically new that we already don't know about CM Punk, it sounds like to me. Nothing different, nothing out of ordinary. But I know he got to make a decision tonight on Raw, and we will. I will head off soon, so I know everybody wants to catch Monday Night Raw. But there's just a little more details behind his return to WWE. Now, people say that they're going to leave WWE. They're going to, once Punk was coming back, they want out. I call cap on that one. You're not going to leave WWE. You guys just heard of Punk's reputation. You got to give the man a chance. See what he's going to do. Punk, he walk in the door, you guys already talked about leaving. So they got to stop that nonsense. But there's nothing different other than that. And that's all I have regarding this story with more details behind CM Punk's return. Let's see what else going on in the wrestling news today. All right, we got another story to unveil. Braun Strowman on CM Punk. I've heard mixed reviews on what kind of person he is. He could get these hands. Braun Strowman shares his thoughts on CM Punk return to WWE. Braun Strowman has been out of action since May, and he had neck fusion surgery in June. The landscape in WWE has changed during his absence as CM Punk returned to the company. Speaking with Ruju.Busta for Sports Kid Wrestling, Strowman has asked to comment on CM Punk's return. And I quote, he's doing his job. At the end of the day, our job is to put eyes on the product and butts in seats. And well, it looks like he's doing it. I've heard mixed reviews from multiple people on what kind of person he is. I'll find out when I meet him, and he can get in line and get these hands, just like anybody else. And he said, Punk is set to appear on December 11th, which is tonight, episode of WWE Raw, and he's going to make a decision if he's going to sign with Raw or SmackDown. Braun Strowman, you need to worry about getting better because you ain't going to put them hands on nobody. So you need to sit yourself down somewhere. You ain't going to put your hands on nobody, Braun Strowman. Get out of here with that. So you could get these hands, shoot. But anyway, that's all I have regarding that particular story. Let's head to the main event, the double main event. Let's see what's going on. Kevin Nash said, I never wrestled CM Punk because Triple H told me I gotta beat this sucker. Kevin Nash reflects on work with CM Punk and Triple H back in 2011. During the storyline that the three men were involved in, Nash was claimed to be Triple H hired gun. At SummerSlam that year, Punk would defeat John Cena to unify the two WWE championships that the pair held, with Triple H as a special guest referee. Good times. Glad we're going to get those good times again. After Kevin Nash would make his way back through the crowd, attacking CM Punk from behind and hitting his jackknife powerbomb on the champion, this will lead to a Money in the Bank cash from Alberto Del Rio. This will lead to a match between Punk and Triple H, being booked for the Night Chance pay-per-view, which Triple H will end up winning. That win made no sense to me. Anyway, on the latest episode of his Click This podcast, Kevin Nash discussed a storyline known that Punk got under Triple H's skin to a storyline. It's funny now that Vince is taking a back seat to this whole thing. That I see Paul, he owns it now. Like he has ownership of a company as far as when they say he's creative. His demeanor, he's in complete control of the situation. There's never been anybody of his talent in the ring. He was with us and we were all ruthless as we were all driven for success. It's such a different Paul now. When I was supposed to wrestle Punk, he got under Triple H's skin so bad. Paul came to me and said, I'm going to beat him. You're not going to wrestle him. I'm beating him. Cool. That's why me and Punk never wrestled. He made the call, I got to beat this sucker. As we all know, CM Punk made his return at the Survivor Series event in Chicago, and he made a surprise appearance at the NXT Deadline this past Saturday. Great event, by the way. Check out my review on Deadline, predictions, and review of that show. But that's interesting to say that Triple H had to beat him. Very interesting. And I always said it back then, Triple H did not need to beat CM Punk back in 2011, a night champions. And that's one of the things that CM Punk was frustrated with in his first one with WWE, which is why he ended up walking out. That's crazy. CM Punk will give him the hands. You funny, CeeLo, talking about Braun Strowman. But anyway, yeah, it don't make sense for CM Punk to lose that match at Night of Champions. He was red hot during that time. He definitely did not need to lose that match. Hopefully, I wish Triple H wasn't retired. He could get that win back. Now I know he's supposed to schedule to wrestle him at WrestleMania 30 and lose against CM Punk before he walked out, and it ended up being Daniel Bryan, now known as Bryan Danielson. But I would love to see CM Punk wrestle Triple H to get that win back, and of course main event WrestleMania. I know Triple H can't physically compete anymore, but I know because his heart condition. But if he did a cinematic match, and where he don't have to physically wrestle, that would be interesting, and seeing Punk just get the win on Triple H. But I'm just thinking hypothetically, I don't think that will actually happen, but that would be interesting to definitely know what would happen if they had their one-off a match again, just like they had in the past. But all we could do is just imagine what will happen next. That's all we can do. But that's interesting that Triple H just had to get the win. That's egotistical Triple H. And Triple H said it at the press conference at Survivor Series. CM Punk's a different person from 10 years ago. He's a different person from 10 years ago. So people grow. CM Punk was the old CM Punk. Triple H was the old Triple H. But that's interesting to know that Triple H just had to have a win. That was ego all the way. Taking a win that he did not really need. So that's definitely egotistical. As much as I like Triple H, he did not need to beat CM Punk at Night Champions 2011. He was going over the top with that one. It was all over the place. But I'm glad to know that they made fences. CM Punk is back home, as Triple H stated, as CM Punk stated. No more drama like AEW, and CM Punk looks good and he feels good. All that matters. He's back in WWE, and there will be no issues like last time. Of course, he has a behavioral clause in his contract. With that being said, that is the end. All I have for this particular story, and I have one more story left. Let's see what that story says. All right. Seth Rollins' WWE contract expires in a matter of months. What will Seth do next? This was credit to SE Scoops. WWE is closing out 2023 with a huge boost in the business. Live events are selling well, and CM Punk's return also provided a huge boost in interest, more than they already had. That being said, 2024 is set to be a very interesting year in terms of contracts, and we now know another superstar whose deal to expire next year. Sean Ross Sapp of Fiverr Select reported during the backstage report that Seth Rollins' WWE deal is currently slated to be up in June, also as is Becky Lynch's wife. Their contracts are added to a growing list of WWE superstars whose deals are expiring next year. There have also been rumors about Seth Rollins' WWE contract situation, but nothing has been confirmed until now. As of this writing, there's no report about inking a new deal. One would expect that WWE will want to do everything they can to keep Seth Rollins and his wife Becky Lynch on the roster. The outlet also noted that they reached out to confirm this news with WWE, and the company would not deny the information. It appears that WWE has two big contracts ending in June, but Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are the only two big deals expiring next year. And WWE said they have a few big contracts expiring in 2024, also including Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins deals are also running up as even higher stakes. The company is even seeing several top star deals tick down because they have signed so many to extensions prior to the pandemic. Then it said WWE has also released a lot of talent, including over 100 employees from their corporate offices. Those superstars that WWE cut in September are set to break the free agent market wide open in a matter of days, aka the 90-day clause is about to be over. So that is crazy. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch contract is up next year, and that's in June next summer. So that is very interesting to see what's going on. I believe Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, they're both going to re-sign with WWE. I don't see them going anywhere unless they go to Hollywood, which I don't see happening at all for that matter. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus is another story. They may leave. I could see Drew McIntyre may leave it, and possibly Sheamus if he's real frustrated. But Sheamus more likely will resign. Drew McIntyre, I don't know. But Becky and Seth, especially Becky, as big a name she is for the women's division in the whole WWE, she's going to resign. I don't see her leaving the company, and I don't see Seth Rollins leaving the company either. They will both sign huge, big new contracts. And I'm pretty sure it'll be for a very lucrative amount of money. So it's just interesting that their contracts are up 6 months from now, which we in December, it will be up in June. So June 2024, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins contracts will expire. But both of them, I think, are going to resign. It does not make sense if WWE doesn't resign them unless they just retire, which I don't see happening. So Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch will resign. I just didn't know their contracts were up around the same time. That's interesting. I knew about Becky Lynch's contract being up, but not Seth Rollins so much. But other than that, I see them both re-signing. I don't see them, neither one of them leaving for that matter. I don't see it happening at least. It don't make sense for them to leave. But that being said, This is interesting. WWE has a lot of decisions to make regarding contracts, and they will do their best, I know, to sign especially their top stars and ones deserving of re-signing. So they let go a lot of people as stated, but they will re-sign Seth Rollins and they will re-sign Becky Lynch. I don't see them leaving at all for that matter. Not one bit. But that's interesting. You guys let me know what you think of the whole contract expiring of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. And if you want to add Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, but that's interesting to see what happens next. Because 6 months is just around the corner, and we will be in June before you know it. Because this year, as far as I'm concerned, is already over. But it will be interesting to see because we got a big free agent market coming up. We got WWE, those four, and of course other free agents and other companies like Camille from NWA, Deonna Purrazzo and TNA, MJF, of course, we signed with AEW reportedly, and then Will Ospreay signed with AEW. So a lot of free agents going to be coming up next year in 2024. It will be something to remember, and next year will be an interesting year for the wrestling industry, not just WWE, AEW, all companies combined. And that's all I have regarding Locker Room of Wrestling news. You guys let me know, what do you think of today's stories, of the big stories of CM Punk vs. Triple H and Seth Rollins' contract being up, and other stories. If there's something you guys want to add in the live chat or on the playback, please add. Muchly greatly appreciated. Soon 2 videos will pop up. One will be former NXT champion explains past WWE issues. Next will be former WWE Tag Team Champions leaving AEW. Until then, it is OUT.